Hey, IronPigs fans, welcome to another edition of PigPod, Episode 2. And the first episode was certainly a great success. I want to once again thank Derek Hall for joining us. But on this episode of PigPod, I'm joined by Senior Director of Marketing and Entertainment, Matthew Bari. And Matthew, welcome to PigPod.
Thanks, Mike. Happy to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you as well, too. And, you know, as we continue to go through all these PigPod episodes, talking all things Lehigh Valley IronPigs, minor league baseball, Major League Baseball from time to time, and just all fun things that we do here in the confines of Coca-Cola Park. Be sure to follow us on IronPigsBaseball.com, Spotify, Apple Podcast, to make sure to listen to PigPod. But, of course, too, if you want to check out the video version as well, you can get to YouTube as well. So, Matthew, we got to start off. How about the Philadelphia Phillies? I know a tough finish for them. And what was an outstanding playoff run and even a really great effort in the World Series. But the Houston Astros are World Series champions. But for the Phillies, what a successful year.
Yeah, it was awesome. Getting into the affiliation with the team here, it was awesome to see a lot of the guys that we had on the team make it onto the playoff roster, and then even some on the World Series roster, and getting to see those guys progress. But then, having the opportunity to be at those games was awesome. I mean, I'm wearing the jacket I got with the little World Series patch right here. It's great. Still wishing that they could have pulled it out there. But it's a tough loss. It's never easy, especially with the series and the fans the way it was at Citizen Bank. It was a crazy experience.
And the reason why we're starting off this episode too was because not just everything happening in the city of Philadelphia, getting behind the Phillies, but also, too, here at Coca-Cola Park. Throughout the entire World Series, the video board was lit up, Phillies nationally champions. But our entire staff, as you mentioned, was pretty much down there at one point, whether it was for all 3 days, 2 days, or just one day. It was certainly quite an experience, games 3 through 5. My follow-up question to you is, are you still tired?
Yeah, so for anybody that saw that, I was interviewed while I was at Citizen Bank Park. Nice long interview, and the only clip that was used was me saying, I'm tired. So I'm no longer tired, but I was lucky enough to go to 3 of the games and get to share in that experience. So that was a lot of fun.
And as you mentioned too, obviously it was great seeing a lot of former IronPigs players and current IronPigs players getting that opportunity to play in the World Series. So, but do want to of course congratulate the Philadelphia Phillies and their entire organization on being the nationally champions. And, of course, hopefully a World Series championship can come their way in 2023. So now that baseball, in a sense, is done, at least from field on the play, but it's never truly done. Obviously there's an offseason here at Coca-Cola Park. I know IronPigs fans, that have been consistently with the organization since 2008, kind of know what we're up to, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that still wonder, well, what are the IronPigs doing now since the minor league season was done at the end of September? So, Matthew, I know for you and myself and all of our coworkers, we're busy already getting prepared for the 2023 season.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they look at baseball season ending, and it's over for them as fans, especially right after the World Series. We got free agency kicking up for Major League Baseball, but we've been working on the 2023 season for months. We were in the middle of the 2022 season when we started looking at what theme nights we're going to do next year. What goes into those nights, our jerseys that we're going to be using on those nights, other initiatives that we're working on for 2023. So that work is already being done during the season while the IronPigs are on the field, getting prepared. But now is really the big time for us to, start those initiatives that we've been planning. It's now time to execute on those. And that's everything from, making sure we have things ordered, giveaways are ordered, planning those out with sponsors, to selling season tickets. And, it's now the 2023 baseball season.
It really is. And, for Bacon USA members, which is really, a collective group of folks that are our season ticket holders, 10 game plans are on sale. And, of course, mini plans will be coming on sale as well, too, in the days ahead. And, of course, eventually individual game tickets will make their way on sale. But you kind of answered already in how do teams prepare for next season because of the way the system is now working here in minor league baseball. You got to work ahead in the midst of your current season. So I know for fans that are eager, well, what fun promotional stuff are we going to have on tap? I know we can't really divulge too much right now, but I would expect to see, for those listening, wondering what fun stuff are we going to do. It's going to be a blast here once again in 2023.
Yeah, definitely. And, that's, like you mentioned, there's certain things we can't talk about yet because there's release dates and merchandise that needs to be here before we can release and things along those lines. Obviously, right behind me, you see our new Bacon USA road jerseys, so we're really excited about being able to release those. We're taking Bacon USA on the road with us, and I believe the video should be in the link in description on YouTube and Spotify, so you guys can check out that release video. So this is something that those road jerseys we were working on prior to the 2022 season, and then as we're working through the season. We're working on what those theme nights are going to be, what those promotions are going to be. And right now, basically, we're just trying to make sure we have everything buttoned up before we can release that promotional schedule, which, keep an eye out. It'll be coming out soon. And then ultimately, individual tickets will go on sale. So there's a lot of exciting things that the fans get to see next year that we already know what's going to happen.
Yep.
We already have those plans in place, and so that's what a lot of what we're working on now is. A couple things like the Coquille, the Coquille are coming back. We had the new colorways last year, which were very popular. So there's some slight changes there, but we're excited about the Coquille coming back. The new Bacon USA road jerseys, and then I know coming up very soon in November is the Marvel release. The logo's already been released online, so you can actually go check that out. Our Defender of the Diamonds IronPigs logo. It's specific to us. We worked with Marvel on that, so that was an exciting process. And, that merchandise will be on sale here soon as well. And
you talk about Marvel, too, because that was always, something that I know really struck a chord with fans. This past season, IronPigs, they got infatuated with the Marvel look. Obviously, Braden Ogle, posed as Thor, did a photo shoot.
Perfect guy.
It was perfect guy. He really did an outstanding job with it. Appreciative of his efforts in helping that become a success. So those Thor uniforms and the Marvel was kind of a big hit. So when partnering with, minor league baseball and Marvel, for all these affiliated teams, it's cool to see. And now we have our own logo, for this season and beyond.
Right. Yeah. And, they've been a good partner with minor league baseball and obviously with us as well as the individual team. So, last year we had the Thor jerseys. That process was really cool to get into that because there's different options that you can have based on characters from the movies. And now they're taking it a step further, trying to build on this program and having every individual team have their own logo that's unique to them. It's going to be a new jersey on field, new cap, merchandise line. But it's a brand new identity, and getting to work through that process, working with Major League Baseball and Marvel directly through that design process, it was interesting to see because they're not normally designing sports logos, right? Yep. But they have obviously a huge history of comic books and designing along those lines in animation. So it's really cool to really bridge that gap and see those differences come together.
Oh, it really is. The everything affiliated with Marvel is such a big hit. Obviously, all the movies,
right.
And how the millions upon millions people that got to see those movies, read those comic books, and now, with minor league baseball being all about entertainment, as you say, obviously incorporating that's going to be a lot of fun. So I know for our fans who are into that, they're really going to enjoy this Marvel look here for the upcoming season. So, but not only with just Marvel, Matthew, but also too, this past Wednesday was Scrapple Day, National Scrapple Day. Scrapple was really a big hit for us this past season. Of course, Scrapple is very prominent in the region. It's a breakfast meat that many enjoy. But the Scrapple jersey and hat this past season, great success. One of our biggest merch hits of all time here, going back to 2008. But also, too, then with it recently being National Scrapple Day, Mike Luciano, our director of merchandise, kind of reissuing it, but also too adding a new T-shirt for fans to buy.
Yeah, so you can go check that out on shopironpigs.com right now. It's available. The Scrapple identity was our salute to Lehigh Valley last year, and it like you said, it was a monster.
Yep.
Some of these things that we're planning well in advance, we don't know how well they're going to do.
Right.
And obviously, this one was lightning in a bottle for us. It was awesome to see the reaction. Obviously in the Lehigh Valley, but even nationally, there was a lot of people that bought the merchandise across the country. And I didn't know what really Scrapple was until we got into this process of designing. Seeing the logos and the jerseys and going through that merchandise process. And I still don't eat Scrapple. I'm not personally a fan of Scrapple, but I know, I believe you're not either.
I'm not a fan of it.
But we do have a lot of people in this office that love Scrapple, and I think it's definitely something that is obviously it evokes that reaction from people. They can it resonates with them. It's something emotional for them, and it was just an awesome promotion, and we're excited to continue that identity.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun identity and continue with it moving forward. He's Matthew Bari, our Senior Director of Marketing and Entertainment. I'm Mike Ventola, Media Relations Manager here with the Lehigh Valley IronPigs. Be sure to follow us here on the PigPod on IronPigsBaseball.com, Spotify, Apple Podcast. So, talking about a lot of different things here, covering, of course, what's happening here in the minor league baseball offseason, of course, with our Marvel announcement and our Scrapple announcement. But, as always, too, we try to incorporate having guests on the PigPod. Episode 1, of course, featured Derek Hall. Long Ball Hall, who had an outstanding season here in 2022, going up to Philadelphia, making his name very much well known within the Philadelphia Phillies community. But one person that really has ingratiated himself in Philadelphia Phillies lore is been longtime radio announcer Scott Franzke. Scott Franzke, who had to step in the shoes of Harry Kalas, of course, Harry Kalas, who then of course was on television for a long time prior to his passing. But Scott Franzke has become the radio voice of the Philadelphia Phillies. He had a front row view to the Philadelphia Phillies' most recent playoff run here. So it's going to be exciting to see and getting a chance to talk with him about that playoff run. And then also, too, obviously his experiences being the Phillies radio announcer. So we'll get an opportunity to talk to Scott and see, of course, what he has to say on everything Philadelphia Phillies related.
The first go for most of these guys, and it was fresh, it was new, it was exciting, and the fans were just overwhelmingly thirsty for this. They wanted this so badly. And, for me, I've said it already, but just from a standpoint of having a good time and having fun, I mean, that's as fun a 30-day stretch as I can remember in this business, for sure.
We're here with Scott Franzke here on PigPod. And, Scott, when you take a look at, the fans, obviously, the players talked a lot about how the fans made their impact. On our first episode here on PigPod, we talked to Derek Hall, and Derek said that, one of the great things about Philly fans is that their knowledge is tenfold. When the Phillies were at the plate, even though it was still loud, but they weren't as loud, realizing they wanted their hitters to focus, obviously, get the best of the opposition. But anytime an opposing player stepped in the batter's box, it felt like, especially at Citizens Bank Park, the place was loud. It was raucous in a good way. And, for you up in the booth, obviously, you're trying to capture focus, calling the play, each pitch, each play. But were there moments when you were kind of, able to take in to what the fans were doing, throughout each game?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I thought that was a huge part of the overall story. I think there's nothing like a baseball pennant race, whether it's down through September, like you're trying to win the division or get to the playoffs, or a playoff run, a deep playoff run. There's nothing in sports, I don't think, that equates to that sort of everyday march, and the everyday one day builds on the next, and it builds on the next, and it gets bigger and it gets bigger, and it draws more and more and more people into the party, so to speak. And I think the fact that the fans were so hungry for it, and they let it be known how loud they could be, how passionate they could be, how much it mattered to them. And I think the players saw that, and even for even for the guys that came up through the organization that have been here a while, whether it's Nola or Reese or guys like that, and we would tell them, like, trust us, it's going to be different. You're going to be blown away by it once you finally get to the postseason. And they were. And I don't even think it didn't matter how much we tried to tell them or prepare them for it. I think they were still, as players, taken aback and stunned by it. I mean, and very appreciative of it. And I keep calling it this, like it was this month-long mutual admiration society. The player keeps or the fan keeps cheering the player, and the player keeps referencing the fan afterwards and acknowledging the fan afterwards. And I thought it was that's part of what made it so special, I think, for all of us, really, whether you're a broadcaster or a player or a fan of the team. I mean, it was that way it all felt connected.
I know for a lot of folks here in the Lehigh Valley and, for the IronPigs organization here at the AAA level, it was really cool for us here to see, a lot of homegrown players, getting their first opportunity in the playoffs and getting their first opportunity in the World Series. You and I could sit here and list them all, but knowing that a good portion of the Phillies postseason roster played in Lehigh Valley at one point or another. So for you, who has been covering this team for such a long time now, how did it, kind of see it from your angle full circle that, yes, certainly some free agent options did their part. We talked about them already, some of the big heavy hitters, but knowing that a lot of these guys came up to the farm system, how much is it now kind of seeing for the Phillies that, hey, we were able to really see some good developing players, come up in a big way here in the postseason?
Yeah. I mean, there's no question they don't get to the postseason without the full depth and contributions of the kids coming from the minor leagues. It didn't mean they had to play every day. It didn't mean that they were superstars in the lineup, but they held roles. I mean, you mentioned that you had Derek Hall on. I mean, I look at Derek Hall as a bit of a savior for the season, and not, I'm not trying to overstate it, but what he was able to do in his time filling in as the DH, that was huge. I mean, it was a big deal for him to sort of hold down that middle spot in the order. It allowed other guys to stay in the same spot in the order, and to know that Derek Hall was going to hold his head above water and put up numbers and perform. I mean, he did a great job. Nick Maton filling in. You look at some of the arms that came up at different times. Guys that had come through the organization, Connor Brogdon kind of blossoming into a guy at times this year. I just think there are so many, obviously Stott and Bohm were everyday players that came through the system. I think everybody had, a little, you could sense the pride of these guys that came through the organization to show that, hey, the Phillies are doing it the right way. They're producing players that matter at the big league level. And again, it's not always going to be a superstar player coming through the system, but those role players who come through the system are important as well, because as a manager, if you have a big frontline guy go down,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Your center fielder goes down. What do you want to know first and foremost is that when you run Matt Vierling out there, he knows how to play the position.
Right.
He knows where to be, where to throw the ball. Is he going to make physical mistakes? Sure. He's a young player and he's still learning. But you want to know that he's been taught how to play the game the right way. And I think that's what a lot of these guys showed, that they could come up here, they could hold down a job, and they could play the game the right way on the days they were asked to do that.
Certainly sets up for what should be an exciting future here for the Phillies. I know we can spend hours talking about, what the plans for 2023 and beyond, but that's another conversation for another day. But I did want to circle back, and I know for you and Larry, you guys have been together a long time, and I know Philly fans, they thoroughly obviously enjoy the job that you guys have done for such a long period of time. I know for myself, fortunate enough to, have worked alongside you guys for a couple spring training games here and there, and knowing just how awesome you guys are through and through. How much conversation, if any, did you guys have that, knowing that you guys were back getting a chance to call some postseason baseball? And did you guys have a moment at all just kind of, saying, hey, it's just great to be back and let's have some fun with this?
Yeah, I think we're all pretty aware of the fact that that opportunity obviously doesn't come around, and you never know when it'll come back around again. This is a great run. Does it mean they'll be back next year? Not necessarily. You never know. In sports, guys get hurt, situations change. Who knows? But you hope that they will be. You want them to be. So I think we were pretty aware of the situation. And again, Larry's obviously dialed back his schedule a lot in recent years. And it was cool to get him back out on the road and to sort of experience the postseason again. I always love watching how nervous he gets, and he's so invested in it, like a fan would be. Sort of living and dying with every pitch. And for me, as a friend and a colleague, it's fun to watch him kind of go through that and enjoy it with him. And Murph and Tom and we're all really good friends, and it's really cool to be able to share that experience with people you really care about, people you like being with, because at the end of the day, so often this game is about the relationships you make along the way, and those are ones that we'll have forever. And certainly the memories that we shared here over the last month are ones we'll have forever. So it was a good time for sure.
Just a couple more before I let you go, Scott. I was recently listening to a podcast where Dave Pasch was interviewing Jim Nantz, and obviously a phrase that is synonymous with Jim Nantz is "hello, friends." Will Bedlam at the Bank become synonymous with you, Scott?
I don't know. Who knows? If it is, that's fine with me. That was a fun time.
No, that's great to hear. Also too, you've been, obviously you haven't been, the radio announcer for the Phillies for, such a long time. Obviously you had the opportunity to do a little television as well too, throughout the season as well. But I know how much the art of the radio means to you, and getting a chance to truly describe the play-by-play. You don't have to maybe do as much description on TV as you would on radio. So, knowing that you get a chance to do this each and every day, and to do this in the city of Philadelphia, do you ever pinch yourself from time to time, be like, man, I'm really in an outstanding spot here and getting a chance to do what I do?
Absolutely, all the time. I mean, I try to make sure I always remember there's very few of these jobs available, and to be able to be fortunate enough to be one of the people that's doing it. Yeah, I have a background like you, and trying to come up through the minor leagues and do this, and I was really fortunate. I know how many great announcers there are in the minor leagues, and for whatever reason, I got a chance that clicked, that worked, and I know there's a lot of guys, down on the farm, as it were, that would perform just as well in the same situation. So I'm really lucky. It's a great place to work, great people to work for, and as I talked about, great people to work with, and Larry and T-Mac and Murph and all the guys that we've had come through over the years. It's I've been really, really lucky for sure.
Well, Scott, I want to thank you so much for joining me here on the PigPod. Obviously, what a fun ride it's been for you and the entire Phillies organization. Hopefully it can continue many more years down the line, and enjoy your off season. I'm sure you're now excited to be home, you and your wife and your kids getting to spend more time with your families, obviously more important than anything else in the world. So kick back, relax, and before you know it, it'll be February. You're probably heading back down to Clearwater at some point.
I don't know how much kickbacking and relaxing there is, but we'll do our best. So thanks for having me, Mike.
My pleasure. Thank you, Scott. Once again, folks, that is Scott Franzke, the radio announcer, radio voice of the Philadelphia Phillies.
It was great getting a chance to talk with Scott Franzke there, Matthew. I'm sure for you who just, getting ingratiated here within the Phillies community per se, hopefully you learned a lot from what Scott had to say.
Yeah, definitely. He's a great Twitter follow as well. And, it's awesome to have the support of people like Scott for the IronPigs and the Phillies and being able to get that insight.
Well, once again, folks, he is Matthew Bari, our Senior Director of Marketing and Entertainment. I'm Mike Ventola, Media Relations Manager with the Lehigh Valley IronPigs. Be sure to follow along with the PigPod on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Be sure as well, too, at ironpigsbaseball.com. Check out the full video version here. You can, see Matthew and I and our entire set here on YouTube. Of course, the IronPigs YouTube page as well. And be on the lookout for Episode 3 in the coming days. Once again, that's PigPod.
Like and subscribe.